My name is Emily, and I'm 28 years old. I've always been the kind of person who tries to do right by my family, even when it comes at my own expense. Maybe it's because I was raised to believe that family sticks together no matter what. Or maybe it's because, deep down, I thought if I kept helping them, they'd eventually appreciate me. Spoiler alert, they didn't. For the past few years, I've been letting my younger cousin, Lisa, live in my house rent-free. Lisa is 23, and if I had to describe her in one word, it would be entitled. She's the type of person who treats generosity like an expectation rather than a kindness. If you give her something once, she'll assume she deserves it forever. At first, I didn't think much of it. Lisa had just finished college and didn't have a job lined up. She told me she just needed a few months to get on her feet. And, well, I had a spare room, so why not? I wasn't struggling financially, and I figured I could help her out. That's what family does, right? But a few months turned into a year, then another. Lisa made no real effort to find a steady job. She worked part-time here and there, mostly for spending money, but she never contributed a single cent toward rent, utilities, or even groceries. And the worst part? She never even acted grateful. No, thank you. No offers to help around the house. Nothing. If I so much as asked her to do the dishes, she'd groan and roll her eyes like I was being unreasonable. At first, I let it slide. I told myself she was just immature, that she'd grow out of it. But then the little things started adding up. Like the time I came home after a 10-hour shift to find her sitting on the couch, surrounded by takeout containers from my favorite restaurant, food I had been saving for myself. When I asked her about it, she just shrugged. "I thought you wouldn't mind," she said. Or the time she borrowed my car without asking and returned it with an empty gas tank, only to get annoyed when I told her she had to fill it up next time. "Geez, it's not like you're broke or anything," she huffed. And don't even get me started on how she treated my house like a free Airbnb. She'd invite her friends over without telling me, and I'd wake up to strangers lounging in my living room. Once, I found one of her friends rummaging through my fridge at 2 a.m. like he was the one paying for groceries. I should have put my foot down sooner. I know that now. But the thing is, my family wasn't exactly on my side. Any time I so much as hinted that Lisa should start paying for something, my aunt, her mom, would call me up with the usual guilt trip. "Oh, sweetie, she's still so young. You know how hard it is to get started these days. You have a good job, don't you? What's a little kindness?" And if I push back? "Lisa looks up to you, Emily. If you kick her out, she'll feel so abandoned." Even my mom, who's usually pretty reasonable, would say things like, "Just be patient with her, Em. You know how she is. She doesn't mean to take advantage of you." But she did mean to. I realized that the night I got the video. It was my uncle, the one relative who actually had a backbone, who sent it to me. The video was taken at some party Lisa had gone to. In it, she was sitting with a group of her friends, laughing. And what she said made my stomach twist. "Emily? Oh my God, she's so dumb." Lisa was giggling. "She's been letting me live there for years for free. I don't pay for anything. She's too much of a pushover to ever kick me out. Like, she actually thinks I'm gonna move out one day. Why would I? I've got it made." Her friends laughed along with her. One of them said, "Damn, I need to find myself an Emily." Lisa grinned. "Good luck. People like her are rare." I don't remember much after that. Just that awful, sinking feeling in my stomach. The realization that she never planned to move out, that she saw my kindness as stupidity, that she had always seen me as nothing more than a free ride. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call her out right then and there, to tell her to pack her things and get out of my house. But I didn't. Instead, I played it cool. I pretended I hadn't seen the video. I went about my days as if nothing had changed. Because if Lisa thought I was too much of a pushover to ever kick her out, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. For the next few weeks, I played the role of the same old, clueless Emily. The one Lisa thought was too naive, too much of a pushover to ever do anything about her freeloading. I still smiled when I saw her. I still bought groceries. I still let her use my Wi-Fi, my electricity, my house, just like always. But beneath the surface, I was carefully putting my plan together. See, Lisa thought I wouldn't do anything because I never had before. But what she didn't realize was that I'd spent years putting up with her entitled nonsense, years letting my family guilt trip me into keeping her around. And after watching that video, after hearing her laugh about how stupid I wasn't feeling so kind anymore. The first step was making sure everything was legally in place. I owned my home outright, which meant there was no lease, no contract, nothing binding Lisa to the house. but I wasn't about to give her any wiggle room to turn this into some dramatic eviction battle. So, I did my research, looked up tenant laws in my state. Turns out, even freeloaders who don't pay rent can sometimes claim squatters' rights if they've lived somewhere long enough. I wasn't about to let that happen. So I called a lawyer, just to be safe, and drafted a formal written notice that she had 30 days to move out. Then, I started making small changes. First, the Wi-Fi. Lisa was glued to her phone more than anything else. She lived online, constantly scrolling through social media, streaming movies, FaceTiming her friends. So one quiet morning, I changed the Wi-Fi password. About an hour later, Lisa stomped into the kitchen, phone in hand. "Hey, is the Wi-Fi down or something?" I glanced up from my coffee. "Oh, no, I just changed the password." She blinked. "Okay, can you give it to me?" I smiled. "Sure. The new password is rent money 123. Lisa frowned. "What?" "You know," I said, tilting my head. "Since you don't pay rent, I figured it'd be a good reminder." Her face twisted in annoyance. "That's not funny." I shrugged. "I thought it was." She rolled her eyes and stomped back to her room. A few minutes later, I heard her slamming doors, probably trying to reset the router. It didn't work. I had changed the admin settings, too. The second step was the groceries. For years, Lisa had treated my fridge like an all-you-can-eat buffet. She never asked, never contributed, just ate whatever she wanted and left the mess for me to clean up. So, I stopped buying extra food. I started labeling things clearly. Emily's lunch. Emily's snacks. Emily's groceries, do not touch. Every time I went shopping, I only bought what I needed. Nothing extra, nothing to share. It didn't take long for Lisa to notice. Did you forget to buy food?" she asked one evening, standing in front of the nearly empty fridge. I looked up from my book. "Nope. I got everything I needed." She scoffed. "Well, what about me?" I raised an eyebrow. "You have a job, don't you?" "Yeah, but then you can buy your own groceries," I said simply, turning the page. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Wow. Okay. Petty much?" "Petty," I repeated, laughing. "Lisa, I've been feeding you for years for free. I just figured, since you're an adult, you'd want to start taking care of yourself." She huffed but didn't argue further. Instead, she started ordering takeout. A lot of takeout. Which was perfect, because that meant she was spending her own money, and soon enough, she wouldn't have anything left. The third step? Utilities. I changed online subscriptions passwords. One by one, I cut her off from every single subscription she had been mooching off me. She finally snapped when she tried to watch a movie one night and got the login screen. "Seriously?" she yelled from the living room. "Why can't I get into anything?" I walked in casually, pretending to be surprised. "Oh, yeah. I figured since you don't contribute, I should only be paying for myself." Her face turned red. "You're being ridiculous." I smiled sweetly. "Am I?" She stormed off, muttering under her breath. But I could tell the cracks were starting to show. Then, the final step. The real kicker. The formal notice. Exactly 3 weeks after I saw that video, I left a neatly printed letter on the kitchen counter. It was short and to the point. "Lisa, this is your official 30-day notice to vacate the premises. You will no longer be allowed to reside in this house. Failure to leave will result in legal action." Best, Emily, I made sure she found it. I waited in my room, listening, until I heard her pick up the paper. Silence. Then, "What is this?" I walked out casually. "Oh, that? Just a little notice letting you know it's time to move on." She turned to me, eyes wide. "You're kicking me out?" I shrugged. "You said it yourself, Lisa. I'm too dumb to ever kick you out, right?" Her face went pale. That's when the real meltdown began. Lisa's face twisted in shock, then anger, then something almost like panic. She gripped the letter in her hands like she could crumple it out of existence. "You can't do this," she sputtered. "This is my home, too." I crossed my arms, leaning casually against the counter. "No, Lisa. It's my home. I own it. I pay for it. And you? You don't contribute a dime." She let out a nervous laugh. This is a joke, right? You're messing with me." I just tilted my head, waiting. Lisa's hands clenched at her sides. "Where am I supposed to go?" "You're an adult," I said, voice light. "I'm sure you'll figure something out." Her mouth opened and closed like she wanted to argue, but she had nothing. She knew it. I knew it. That's when the tears started. "Emily, please," she sniffled, trying to look pitiful. "I don't have anywhere else." You know how hard things have been for me. I held up a hand. Save it, Lisa. I've heard it all before. I gave you years of free rent, free food, free everything, and you repaid me by laughing about how stupid I was behind my back. I think I've been more than generous. But she looked around frantically, like the walls were closing in. I could see the wheels turning in her head. Lisa had never been held accountable for anything in her life. Every time she messed up, someone bailed her out. And if it wasn't me, it was our family. Which is exactly why I wasn't surprised when she played her next card. I'm calling Aunt Marie, she snapped, grabbing her phone. Oh, yes. The family intervention move. I didn't even try to stop her. Within 10 minutes, my phone rang. Emily, came Aunt Marie's signature disappointed sigh. Lisa just told me what's going on. You're really kicking your own cousin out on the street. I held back a laugh. She has a job, Aunt Marie. She's not going on the street. You know she's struggling. She's struggling because she spends all her money on takeout and online shopping, I said. She's not struggling enough to cut back on Starbucks, but she's struggling too much to pay rent? Funny how that works. She's family, Aunt Marie said, like that was some kind of magical argument that made everything okay. I let out a breath. So, you'll take her in, then? Silence. Aunt Marie. Well, I can't do that, she stammered. You know how small our place is, and right? So she's my responsibility, but not yours. That's not what I said. That's exactly what you said. I cut in. You don't actually care about Lisa having a place to stay. You just don't want to deal with her yourself. More silence. Then she huffed. Your mother would be ashamed of you, Emily. Ah, there it was. A cheap, low-blow guilt trip, because she had nothing else left. I sighed. Goodbye, Aunt Marie. And I hung up. Lisa stared at me, eyes wide. You hung up on her? Yep. You can't just do that. I can. And I did. Lisa looked completely lost. This was the first time ever that she wasn't getting her way. No backup. No last-minute save. No safety net. I saw her throat bob as she swallowed. Emily, she tried again, her voice shaking now. Please. Just give me another chance. I looked at her, and for a split second, I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered that video. The way she'd laughed. The way she'd called me dumb. The way she'd bragged to her friends about taking advantage of me. And just like that, my sympathy disappeared. No, Lisa, I said. I think we're way past second chances. Her face twisted in desperation. I'll pay rent. I swear. Just, please don't make me leave. I shook my head. It's not about the rent, I said. It's about respect. And you lost mine a long time ago. She looked like she might argue, but I just turned and walked away. 30 days. She had 30 days left. And I was going to enjoy watching the countdown. Lisa spent the next few weeks cycling through every tactic she could think of. First, she went back to denial. She acted like nothing had changed, like I hadn't handed her a formal notice. She still sprawled out on my couch, still blasted her obnoxious reality TV shows late into the night, still left her takeout containers on the kitchen counter for me to clean up. When I reminded her, again, that she had less than a month left, she just waved me off. You're not actually going through with this, she scoffed. You always say things like this, but you never mean them. I almost laughed. That's exactly what she'd told her friends in that video. That I was too much of a pushover. That I'd never have the guts to kick her out. It was funny how she still believed that, even now. A week passed. She realized I wasn't backing down. That's when the guilt trip started. She got weepy and pitiful, sighing dramatically when I was in the room, making little sniffles just loud enough for me to hear. If I asked what was wrong, she'd blink up at me with those big, watery eyes. I just can't believe you're actually doing this to me. After everything I've been through. I thought you were my family, Emily. It would have been a great performance if I hadn't already seen what she really thought about me. I didn't bite. Then came the fake promises. I'll pay you rent. I swear. Just let me stay. She even went so far as to pull out her phone, pretending to make a budget plan right in front of me, as if that was supposed to convince me. I didn't even humor her. You had years to pay rent, I reminded her. And instead, you laughed about how stupid I was for letting you live here for free. So no, Lisa, I don't believe you. She scowled but didn't argue. She knew I was right. By the final week, her mood had soured completely. She sulked around the house, slamming doors, stomping her feet like a child throwing a tantrum. The place was a mess because she'd completely stopped cleaning up after herself, and I refused to do it for her. It was almost fascinating watching her unravel, like a spoiled kid finally being told no for the first time in her life. The night before move-out day, she had one last meltdown. She stormed into the living room where I was sitting, arms crossed tightly over her chest. "You know what?" she spat. "You're a horrible person. I've done nothing but love you like a sister, and this is how you repay me? Throwing me out on the street like trash?" I closed my book, resting it on my lap. "You loved me like a sister?" I repeated, raising a brow. "Is that what you were doing when you laughed about how dumb I was? When you bragged about how I'd never kick you out? Was that sisterly love?" Her jaw tightened, but she kept going. "You don't even need the money. You make plenty. You're just doing this to be a jerk." I sighed. "Lisa, this isn't about money. This is about the fact that I let you live here out of kindness, and instead of being grateful, you mocked me for it. You disrespected me, Lisa. And now you're facing the consequences of that." She scoffed. "Oh, you're so high and mighty, aren't you? Like you're some perfect little saint. Guess what, Emily? You're just like your mom." I stiffened. She saw it, smirked. That was low. My mother had been an emotionally manipulative mess. She guilt-tripped, controlled, made everything about her. I'd spent years unlearning all the ways she tried to twist my mind. And Lisa was doing everything in her power to be just like her. But I wasn't falling for it. "Pack your bags, Lisa," I said coolly, standing up. "You're out tomorrow morning." Her face darkened, but I walked past her without another word. The next day, I woke up early. I half expected her to try some last-minute trick, but to my surprise, she actually packed. Badly. Sloppily. Like she thought that by dragging her feet, she could somehow make me change my mind. She stood in the doorway, a single suitcase next to her, arms crossed. "So that's it, then?" she said bitterly. "That's it," I said. She let out a dry laugh. "Well, you really don't care, do you?" "I did care, Lisa," I said. "That was the problem." She stared at me, waiting, like I was supposed to feel bad, like I was supposed to take it all back and say, "Oh no, Lisa, I didn't mean it. Please stay." But I didn't. I just opened the door. She grabbed her suitcase and stomped out. She didn't look back. I shut the door behind her. And just like that, for the first time in years, my house was my own again. At first, the silence felt wrong. Not in a bad way, just unnatural. I had gotten so used to Lisa's constant presence, the noise, the mess, the sheer weight of her expectation lingering in the air. But now? Nothing. No TV blaring at full volume. No passive-aggressive sighs. No leftover food boxes cluttering the counter. Just me, my space, my peace. I took a deep breath. It was over. Or so I thought. The first sign of trouble came that evening. My phone buzzed with a message from my aunt, Lisa's mother. Aunt Marie texted, "Emily, what have you done to Lisa? She just showed up here in tears." I rolled my eyes. Of course, she went crying to her mom. I debated ignoring it, but then I figured I might as well get ahead of whatever sob story Lisa was spinning. I replied. I told her to move out. She had plenty of notice. "You know that." Aunt Marie responded. "You put her out on the street? Like a heartless stranger?" I texted. "She's at your house, isn't she? Sounds like she's not on the street after all." I saw the typing bubble pop up, then disappear, then pop up again. Aunt Marie responded, "She's family, Emily. You don't turn your back on family." I texted. "Funny, I don't remember Lisa worrying about family when she was laughing about how stupid I was for helping her." She left me on read. I figured that was the end of it. But oh no. The real storm came the next day. I woke up to a group chat blowing up, one that included my aunt, a few cousins, and, for some reason, Lisa herself. Aunt Marie texted, "Emily, I cannot believe how selfish you've been." Cousin Jenna texted, "Kicking out your own family in this economy? Cold-hearted." Lisa texted, "Guess I know where I stand now. Thanks for making me feel like garbage, Emily. Hope you're happy." I sighed. I wasn't about to let them rewrite the narrative. I replied, "Lisa lived in my house rent-free for years. She never paid a dime, never even tried to, and instead of being grateful, she made fun of me behind my back. I gave her a month's notice. She's living with Aunt Marie right now, so let's not pretend she's out in the cold. If anyone else feels like she deserves free housing, you're welcome to take her in." Silence. Then, one by one, the chat went quiet. A few cousins who hadn't even commented left the group entirely. And Lisa? Well, she didn't say a word. Later that night, I got a text from my cousin Jenna, the only one who hadn't thrown a fit. Jenna texted, "Honestly, I don't blame you. Lisa's been freeloading off everyone for years. You just had the guts to actually do something about it. That was the first moment I really felt it. The weight off my shoulders. The relief of knowing I had set a boundary and actually kept it. And Lisa? She tried to play the victim for a while, but the pity ran out fast. Turns out, people are a lot less sympathetic when they realize you weren't kicked out onto the streets, but instead got told, very fairly, that you had to start acting like an adult. I haven't heard from her in months now. I wish I could say I was surprised, but honestly, it just proves what I already knew. She never actually cared about me, only what I could do for her. And as much as that stings, I don't regret my decision. Not for a second. So, Reddit, what do you think? Was I too harsh, or was it time for Lisa to face reality? Let me know.